Dr. Kim Hannah rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the clock on her computer screen. It was 3 in the morning at the Seoul Deep Space Observatory, and she had been listening to space signals for 12 hours straight. The large radio dishes outside pointed toward the Vega star system, slowly turning as Earth rotated beneath the stars. Most nights were the same: static, random beeps, and the endless hum of cosmic background radiation filled her headphones. After 15 years of searching for signs of alien life, Hannah had grown used to the disappointment. Tonight felt different though. Something was wrong with the usual patterns. "Hey Jaewon," she called softly to her research partner, Dr. Park Jaewon, who sat at the desk next to her. "Come listen to this." Jaewon rolled his chair over and put on his own headphones. On the computer screen, green waves showed the incoming radio signals from space. Usually, these waves looked random and messy, like scribbles from a broken pen. But now, something organized appeared on the screen. "What am I looking at?" Jaewon asked, leaning closer to the monitor. "Look at the pattern." Hannah pointed at the screen. "It repeats every few seconds. See those spikes? They're not random." The signal showed clear mathematical sequences. First came the prime numbers: 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. Then the Fibonacci sequence: 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. After that came something neither scientist recognized, but it followed rules and patterns that natural cosmic phenomena never displayed. "This is impossible," Jaewon whispered. "Natural radio sources don't create patterns like this." Hannah's heart began beating faster. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a child, looking up at the stars and wondering if anyone was looking back. Now, at 42 years old, she might be the first human to detect an alien signal. "Record everything," she told Jaewon, "and call Dr. Lee Min-ho. We need our language expert here right now." While Jaewon made the phone call, Hannah studied the signal more carefully. The mathematical sequences repeated every 72 hours, but each time they appeared weaker than before. The aliens, if that's what they were, seemed to be losing power. Dr. Lee Min-ho arrived within an hour, still wearing his pajamas under a hastily thrown-in lab coat. Behind him came Dr. Choi Soo-min, their astrophysicist, who had driven through the night from Seoul National University. "Show me what you found," Min-ho said, sitting down at a computer terminal. Hannah played back the recorded signal. All 4 scientists listened in silence as the mathematical patterns repeated through the speakers. When it finished, nobody spoke for a long moment. "It's definitely artificial," Soo-min said finally. "No star, pulsar, or black hole creates signals like this." "But look at this part." Min-ho pointed to a section of the recording. "After the math sequences, there's something else. It's not random noise. There's structure here, like language." Over the next week, the team worked without rest. They took turns monitoring the signal around the clock, recording every transmission and analyzing each pattern. Slowly, a terrifying picture began to emerge. The signal came from a planet orbiting the star Vega, 25 light-years from Earth. Hidden within the mathematical framework were coordinates showing the exact location of the transmission source. There were also numbers that looked like population counts, billions of individuals. Most disturbing of all was what appeared to be a countdown timer. "They're running out of time," Hannah said during a team meeting on the 7th day. Dark circles under her eyes showed how little sleep she had gotten. "Each transmission is weaker than the last. And this countdown, I think it's showing how long they have left." Soo-min had been studying the star Vega itself, using other telescopes to examine its behavior. Her findings made the situation even more urgent. "Vega is showing signs of instability," she reported. "Solar flares, irregular brightness patterns. If my calculations are correct, this star could go supernova within months." The room fell silent. A supernova would destroy everything within several light-years of the exploding star. Any planet orbiting Vega would be completely eliminated. So this isn't just first contact, Jae-won said slowly. This is a distress call. Hannah nodded grimly. Somewhere among the stars, an entire civilization was facing extinction. They were using their last remaining energy to broadcast a cry for help into the darkness of space, hoping someone would hear them and somehow, impossibly, come to their aid. We have to tell the world, Hannah said. The United Nations, the Space Consortium, everyone. This changes everything. Will they believe us? Minho asked. Hannah looked at the data they had collected. The mathematical proof that intelligence existed beyond Earth. For the first time in human history, people would know. They were not alone in the universe. But that knowledge came with a terrible responsibility. They have to believe us, she said. Because if we don't act, we'll be listening to the death of an entire species. Outside the observatory, dawn was breaking over the Korean mountains. But 25 light-years away, another sun was preparing to die, taking billions of lives with it, unless humanity could find a way to help. The universe had sent Earth a message. Now it was time to answer. The emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council had been going on for 18 hours. Representatives from every major country sat around the massive oval table in New York, their faces showing exhaustion and disbelief. At the center of it all stood Dr. Kim Hannah, holding a tablet containing the most important discovery in human history. Ladies and gentlemen, said Admiral Song Murray, the president of the International Space Consortium, Dr. Kim will now present her findings one more time for those who have just arrived. Hannah stepped forward, her hands shaking slightly. She had presented this information dozens of times over the past month, but the weight of it never got easier to bear. The signal comes from the Vega star system, 25 light-years from Earth, she began, her voice steady, despite her nervousness. Our analysis shows a civilization of approximately 2.3 billion intelligent beings. They are facing complete extinction within the next 6 months. She touched her tablet, and a large screen behind her showed the alien mathematical sequences they had decoded. Their star is going supernova. They have exhausted their planet's resources trying to prevent it, but they do not have the technology to save themselves. The Russian representative raised his hand. Dr. Kim, even if we wanted to help these beings, how could we possibly reach them? 25 light-years might as well be 25 million. Hannah had expected this question. She switched to the next screen, showing technical diagrams that had taken weeks to decode from the alien transmissions. That's the remarkable part, she said. They have included technical specifications in their messages. Faster than light travel technology, energy manipulation systems, advanced physics that we are only beginning to understand. Dr. Yoon Tae-young, Earth's most respected physicist, stood up from his position as a scientific advisor. I have reviewed Dr. Kim's analysis personally. The technology described in these transmissions could advance human science by centuries. Fusion power, gravity manipulation, interstellar travel, it's all there. Murmurs filled the assembly hall. The Chinese delegate leaned forward. Are you suggesting we risk human lives on an unproven rescue mission to help aliens we have never seen? I'm suggesting, Hannah replied, that we have a moral obligation to try. But more than that, I'm saying this could be the greatest opportunity in human history. The American Secretary of State frowned. The cost would be enormous. We're talking about building spacecraft capable of interstellar flight, carrying thousands of people on a journey that could take decades. The cost of doing nothing is greater, said Dr. Lee Minho, who had been helping with the translations. We would be letting an entire civilization die when we have the knowledge to save them. Admiral, Song called for a short break. During the recess, heated discussions broke out among the various national delegations. Some argued that humanity wasn't ready for such a mission. Others worried about the risks of contact with an unknown alien species. When the session resumed, the Brazilian representative asked, "How do we know these beings aren't hostile?" What if this is some kind of trap? Hannah had thought about this question many times. Their transmissions include cultural information, art, music, mathematical poetry. These are not the communications of a warlike species. They're the final songs of a dying civilization. She played a recording that Dr. Minho had partially translated. Strange, beautiful harmonies filled the assembly hall, alien music that somehow conveyed deep sadness and hope at the same time. They're not asking us to fight for them, Hannah continued. They're asking us to help them survive, and in return, they're offering us the stars. The Indian delegate raised a practical concern. Even if we agree to this mission, who would go? We would need volunteers willing to spend 25 years traveling through space, possibly never returning to Earth. We already have a list of 50,000 volunteers, Admiral Song announced, surprising many in the room. Scientists, engineers, doctors, teachers, people who believe this mission is worth the risk. Dr. Choi Sumin stepped forward with astronomical data. Time is running out. Each day we delay, the alien star becomes more unstable. If we're going to do this, we need to decide now. The debate continued for hours. Some countries wanted to send just a small research mission. Others argued for a full-scale rescue operation. A few insisted that the entire matter should be kept secret from the public. Finally, Admiral Song called for silence. We are facing a decision that will define humanity's place in the universe. Do we reach out to help another species in need, or do we turn away and remain alone among the stars? The vote was closer than anyone expected. 57 countries voted in favor of Operation Lighthouse, humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. 43 voted against, and 12 abstained. As the gavel fell, approving the mission, Hannah felt tears in her eyes. Somewhere in the Vega system, billions of alien beings continued broadcasting their desperate plea for help into the darkness. Now, finally, humanity would answer. The greatest adventure in human history was about to begin. In the months that followed, the world would transform. Factories would retool to build interstellar spacecraft. Universities would train volunteers for the longest journey ever attempted. And for the first time in human history, people would work together not for conquest or profit, but to save the lives of beings they had never met, on a world they had never seen. One signal in the dark had changed everything. Captain Nam Jisoo stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching Earth grow smaller in the main view screen. The massive ship carried 50,000 volunteers on the most dangerous journey in human history. Behind them, their home planet looked like a blue marble floating in the black of space. Ahead lay 25 years of travel through the emptiness between stars. The New Horizon had been built in just 3 years, using technology decoded from the alien transmissions. What had started as a simple colony ship designed for Mars had become something far more ambitious. Fusion engines powerful enough to reach 1/10 of light speed, life support systems to sustain a small city, and cargo holds modified to carry alien refugees. "Captain," called Dr. Kang Wanbin from his station. "We're receiving another transmission from Vega. The signal is getting weaker again." Jisoo nodded grimly. During the 2 years it had taken to prepare for launch, the alien distress calls had continued. Each message was fainter than the last, showing that whoever was sending them was running out of power. "Put it through the translation system," she ordered. Dr. Kang had spent those 2 years developing ways to communicate with the aliens, who called themselves the Veltari. The mathematical sequences had been easy enough to decode, but their actual language was far more complex. It seemed to use harmonics and frequency patterns that human ears could barely detect. The bridge speakers filled with strange, musical sounds. To most people, it would sound like random noise, but Dr. Kong had learned to hear the patterns within it. "They're counting down again," he said, his face showing worry. 16 days, 7 hours, 12 minutes. That's how long they think they have before their star explodes. How long until we reach them? Jisoo asked her navigation officer. 24 years, 8 months at current speed, came the reply. The numbers were impossible. Even traveling faster than any human had ever gone before, they would arrive decades too late. But the Velthari transmissions suggested they had some way to extend their timeline, perhaps by using underground shelters or space stations in the months that followed. Life aboard the New Horizon settled into a routine. The ship was large enough to hold parks, schools, research laboratories, and even small farms. Children born during the journey would grow up among the stars, never seeing Earth until they were adults. Dr. Im Soo-yang worked in the biology section, trying to understand Velthari physiology from their transmissions. The aliens appeared to be silicon-based, rather than carbon-based like humans. Their bodies were crystalline structures that could live much longer than humans, and seemed to think in ways that were completely different. Look at this, she showed Jisoo during one of their weekly briefings. The Velthari don't seem to have individual names the way we do. They identify each other through harmonic patterns that show family groups, skills, and personality traits. Chief Engineer Bae Hoon-woo spent his time preparing the ship to carry both human and alien passengers. The cargo holds were being converted into living spaces that could support silicon-based life. The air recycling systems needed to be modified, and the temperature controls had to account for beings who preferred much warmer environments than humans. The biggest challenge is communication, Dr. Kong explained to the crew during a general assembly. The Velthari think in mathematical concepts that we translate into words, but they also communicate through crystal resonance patterns that we can't produce with our voices. He had developed translation devices that could convert human speech into Velthari harmonic patterns and back again. The crew practiced using them every day, learning to speak with beings they had never met. Years passed. Children grew up knowing they were part of humanity's greatest rescue mission. Scientists continued studying the Velthari transmissions, learning about their culture, their art, their history. The aliens had been a peaceful species for thousands of years, focused on science and philosophy rather than war. Dr. Shin Youngji discovered that the Velthari had incredible abilities with technology. They could interface directly with their machines through crystal connections in their bodies. Their cities were grown rather than built, using controlled crystal formation techniques that created structures both beautiful and functional. They're not so different from us, she reported. They love their families, create art, explore the universe, and fear death, just like humans do. But the transmissions also revealed the desperate situation on their world. The Velthari had spent a century trying to stabilize their dying star. They had built massive machines to regulate solar output, created underground cities to protect their population, and even attempted to move their planet to a safer orbit. Nothing had worked. As the New Horizon traveled deeper into space, Earth's radio signals grew fainter until they could no longer communicate with home. The ship became its own world, carrying humanity's hopes across the vast emptiness between stars. Captain Jisoo often stood in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. Vega was still just a bright point of light ahead of them, no different from thousands of other stars. But she knew that around that distant sun, billions of intelligent beings were fighting for their lives. "We're coming," she whispered to the stars. "Hold on just a little longer." The New Horizon flew on through the darkness, carrying humanity's answer to a desperate plea for help. Whether they would arrive in time remained to be seen, but they would not stop trying until the very end. The New Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel, with a violent shudder that shook the entire ship. Captain Nam Jisoo gripped her command chair as alarms blared throughout the bridge. After 25 years of travel, they had finally reached the Vega system, but what they found was far worse than anyone had imagined. "Captain, look at this," called the navigation officer, pointing at the main screen. The Velthari homeworld hung before them like a dying ember. Massive storms covered half the planet's surface, their lightning visible even from space. The oceans had turned dark red, and strange clouds swirled in patterns that hurt to look at. Above it all, the star Vega flickered like a candle in the wind, sometimes bright, sometimes dim, as if it couldn't decide whether to shine or explode. "My God," whispered Dr. Im Soo-yang, who had joined the bridge crew to witness first contact. "How are they still alive down there?" Dr. Kang Wanbin was already working at his communication station, trying to contact the planet below. "I'm detecting thousands of signals from the surface. They know we're here." Within minutes, the ship's speakers filled with the harmonic sounds of Velthari language. But now, instead of the weak distress calls they had been receiving for decades, the signals were strong and filled with what could only be described as joy. "What are they saying?" Jisoo asked. Dr. Kang listened carefully, his translation device working to convert the alien harmonics into human words. They're welcoming us. They say they never believed anyone would actually come." The first visual contact came when a Velthari spacecraft approached the New Horizon. The alien vessel looked nothing like human ships. It was grown rather than built, with crystalline structures that caught the light of their dying star. It moved through space like a living thing, changing shape as it flew. "Permission to come aboard," came the translated message from the alien ship. Jisoo looked around her bridge crew. After 25 years of preparation, this was the moment that would change human history forever. Permission granted. Dock at Bay 7. The entire crew gathered in the main docking bay to witness humanity's first meeting with an alien being. As the airlock opened, a wave of warm air flowed into the human ship, carrying strange scents that reminded some people of heated metal and others of blooming flowers. The being that stepped through the airlock was unlike anything humans had imagined. It stood 7 feet tall and seemed to be made of living crystal that shifted between blue and green colors. Its body was geometric, yet graceful, with faceted surfaces that reflected light in patterns too complex for human eyes to fully process. Where a human would have a face, it had a collection of crystal formations that resonated with soft musical tones. "I am called Thelmora," the being said through the translation device, its voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I speak for those who remain on the world below. We cannot express our gratitude that you have traveled so far to help us." Captain Jisoo stepped forward, her heart racing. "I am Captain Nam Jisoo of Earth. We received your signals and came as quickly as we could." Thelmora's crystalline form seemed to shimmer with emotion. "Your species traveled 25 of your years to help beings you had never met. This is beyond our understanding of goodness." Dr. Kong moved closer with his recording equipment. "How many of your people are still alive?" 2 billion? 300 million, Thelmora replied. "We have moved most into deep shelters, but our star grows more unstable each day. We estimate perhaps 15 of your days before the final explosion." Chief Engineer Bae-Hoon Woo felt his stomach drop. 15 days to evacuate over 2 billion people using one ship. It seemed impossible. "We will need to modify our cargo holds immediately," he said. "How much space does each Velthari require?" Thelmora explained that their people could enter a kind of dormant state during emergency situations, reducing their space and energy requirements dramatically. Even so, the numbers were staggering. Dr. Im Soo-yang was fascinated by Thelmora's biology. "Your body structure is incredible. How do you interface with your technology?" In response, Thelmora approached one of the ship's control panels. Crystalline tendrils extended from its hands, making direct contact with the human electronics. Immediately, the panel began displaying information in both human and Velthari formats. "We grow our technology rather than build it," Thelmora explained. "Our machines are extensions of ourselves, just as your tools are extensions of your hands." Working together, human engineers and Velthari technicians began the massive task of converting the New Horizon into a refugee transport. The aliens' ability to directly interface with machinery made modifications much faster than anyone had expected. But even as they worked, the star Vega grew more unstable. Solar flares lashed the planet's surface, forcing more Valthari into underground shelters. Time was running out faster than anyone had calculated. "We need to begin evacuations immediately," Thelmora said during an emergency planning meeting. "Our planetary shields are failing. The next major solar flare could eliminate our remaining surface installations." Captain Jisoo looked at her crew, then at their new alien ally. "Then we start now. Every minute we delay could mean thousands of lives lost." The greatest rescue operation in the history of two species was about to begin. The evacuation shuttles moved between the New Horizon and the dying planet like busy ants carrying precious cargo. Captain Nam, Jisoo watched from the bridge as another group of Velthari refugees entered their ship through the main docking bay. The crystalline beings moved in orderly lines, their harmonic voices creating strange music that echoed through the corridors. "How many more?" she asked Chief Engineer Baehunwoo, who was monitoring the passenger count. 1,700,000,000 aboard, he replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. 600 million still on the planet. "But Captain, we're running out of time." Through the view screen, Vega pulsed with angry red light. Solar flares reached out like fiery hands, growing larger and more violent with each passing hour. The Velthari had warned them that once the star began its final collapse, they would have only minutes to escape. Dr. Kang Wanben looked up from his communication station. "The surface teams report massive ground shaking on the planet. Thelma says their underground cities are starting to collapse." Jisoo felt her chest tighten with worry. They had been evacuating people for 12 days straight, working without rest. The human crew and Velthari refugees worked together, but there were still so many people left to save. "Captain," called the navigation officer. Vega's brightness just increased by 30%. "The star's core is starting to collapse." On the planet below, the last evacuation shuttles raced toward the surface, piloted by both humans and Velthari, working together. They pushed their engines beyond safe limits to reach the remaining underground shelters. Thelmora appeared on the bridge, moving with the flowing grace of its crystalline body. "Captain, Jisoo, you must prepare to leave. The final collapse has begun." "Not without everyone," Jisoo said firmly. "How many shuttles are still down there?" 17 shuttles carrying the last groups from the deep shelters, Thelmora replied. "But the surface temperature is rising rapidly. Soon it will be too dangerous for any craft to land." Dr. Im Soo-yang monitored the biological readings from the planet. "The atmospheric conditions are becoming impossible. Even the Velthari can't survive much longer in this heat." Minutes felt like hours as they waited for the final shuttles to return. One by one, the small craft docked with the New Horizon, their hulls glowing red-hot from the planet's increasing temperature. The last shuttle arrived just as Vega's surface began to bubble and expand. "All shuttles aboard," reported the docking officer. "But Captain, our faster-than-light drive has never been tested with this much mass. We're carrying almost 3 billion beings." Jisoo looked at the engineering readings. The ship was loaded far beyond its design limits. The fusion reactors were running at maximum power just to maintain life support for everyone aboard. Using the experimental FTL drive under these conditions was incredibly dangerous. "Thelmora, can your people help us with the jump calculations?" she asked. The Velthari scientists moved to the engineering station, extending crystalline tendrils to interface directly with the ship's computers. "We can combine our harmonic resonance technology with your quantum drive. It may give us enough power to escape." Chief Engineer Bay worked alongside Thelmora and several other Velthari technicians, their different technologies blending in ways no one had imagined possible. Human intuition combined with crystalline precision as they prepared for humanity's most desperate jump into faster-than-light travel. "Captain," called the sensor officer, his voice tight with fear, "Vega's outer layers are beginning to shed. The supernova has started." Through the view screen they watched as their star began to die. Massive explosions tore through Vega's surface, hurling matter out into space at incredible speeds. The beautiful blue-white star that had shone for billions of years was destroying itself in a matter of minutes. "Jump drive ready," announced Bay. "But I can't guarantee we'll survive this. We're attempting something that's never been done before." Jisoo looked around the bridge at her human crew and their Velthari allies working together. In the corridors below, 3 billion beings from 2 different worlds waited to learn if they would live or die together. "All hands, prepare for emergency. Jump," she announced over the ship's communication system. "Human and Velthari crew, secure yourselves for faster-than-light travel." The countdown began. 10 seconds. Vega's explosion grew brighter, racing toward them at the speed of light. 5 seconds. The ship's hull began to heat up from the increasing radiation. 3 seconds. 2, 1. The new horizon jumped into faster-than-light travel just as Vega exploded in a burst of light that would be visible from Earth for 1,000 years. The ship stretched and twisted through dimensions that human minds could barely understand, carrying its precious cargo away from the expanding supernova. But something went wrong. The navigation systems failed under the stress of the overloaded jump. When they dropped back into normal space, they found themselves lost among unfamiliar stars. "Where are we?" Jisoo asked. "Unknown," replied the navigation officer. "Our instruments were damaged during the jump. I can't identify any of these star patterns." For a moment, despair filled the bridge. They had escaped the supernova, but now they were lost in space with limited supplies and no way to find their way home. Then Thelmora spoke, its harmonic voice filled with hope. "Captain, we are not lost. We are found. For the first time in our species' history, we travel the stars together." The Velthari scientist was right. Over the following months, humans and Velthari worked as one people, sharing knowledge and culture while they searched for Earth. The crystalline beings taught humans about harmonic technology and direct neural interfaces. In return, humans shared their understanding of adaptation and creative problem-solving. Dr. Kang learned to speak fluent Velthari harmonics while teaching alien children human languages. Dr. Im Soo-Yang discovered that Velthari healing crystals could repair human injuries in ways that seemed almost magical. Chief Engineer Bay worked with Velthari technicians to improve the ship's systems using hybrid human-alien technology. When Earth's sun finally appeared on their long-range sensors 8 months later, it marked more than just the end of their journey. Humanity had received one signal in the dark and had answered with light. They returned not just as humans, but as part of a new interstellar civilization that would change both species forever. Dr. Kim Hannah, now an old woman but still working in the ship's communication center, stood in the observation lounge as Earth grew larger in the viewport. Beside her, Thelmora's crystalline form reflected the light of humanity's sun. "You came so far to save us," the Velthari said through gentle harmonics. "Your species traveled across the galaxy to help people you had never seen." Hannah smiled, remembering that night so many years ago when she first heard their distress call. "We didn't just save you," she replied. "We saved ourselves. You taught us that we're not alone in the universe, and that sometimes the greatest adventures begin when someone calls for help." As the new horizon approached Earth's orbital stations, both species prepared for a future that would be brighter than either could have imagined alone. Humanity had answered one desperate signal in the darkness and had found partners who would help them light the way to the stars. The age of interstellar civilization had begun, born from compassion and kept alive by the courage to help strangers in need.